Bartholomew Kuma, the character that has now won the hearts of so many One Piece fans across the world. From starting off as a warlord of the sea that no one really cared about, to becoming one of the most beloved characters in all of One Piece, Kuma's story is truly a tragic one, and in today's video we will be going in depth about this character and analyzing everything he's been through. But just before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you enjoy this kind of content. Kuma's introduction began in chapter 233 alongside the heavenly demon Don Quixote do Flamingo. Kuma has always been an intriguing character since we never really got much from him at the beginning of the story. All we got was that the world government used him as a model for the pacifistas and that he seemed to always follow their orders no matter what they said. Kuma's character development literally took years to finish, but in the end, Oda did not disappoint. He went from being an antagonist in the story to such a remarkable and heartwarming character that everyone loves. Unfortunately, his struggles and choices have ultimately led him to a point where he can no longer be considered a live human being with free will. The first hint at his past was given to us by Perona when he arrived on Thriller Bark. She stated that he used to be the cruelest pirate on the sea and that he was known as a tyrant. But seeing as how his demeanor always seemed calm, collected and composed, it had always casted skepticism on the accuracy of this characterization. And now that we have gotten Kuma's full flashback, we know that the world government orchestrated this false portrayal to use him as a weapon known as a pacifista to instill fear among the populace. From his flashback, we now know that Bartholomew Kuma is from the Buccaneer race, a nearly extinct race of humanoids that are taller than the average human but smaller than giants, which finally explains why Kuma is so tall. He stands at exactly 689 centimeters tall, or 22 feet. The Buccaneer race believed in Nika. It was a story that was passed on for many generations in their tribe. They always believed and hoped that one day Nika would come and bring joy and freedom to the world. It was this belief that kept Kuma's family hopeful, even when they were turned into slaves. Kuma's dad, named Clap, used to sing to him the heroic legends of the sun god Nika. Despite his mother dying tragically while she was a slave, Kuma had his father to rely on and Nika's story to keep him smiling. But this did not last long, as his father was shot right in front of him by a celestial dragon. Having experienced such a traumatic event at such a young age, you would expect Kuma to turn out revengeful and take out all his pain and suffering on the world, exactly what Doflamingo did after experiencing an equivalent traumatic event at a very young age. He decided to become a pirate and terrorize people because of his suffering, but Kuma went the complete opposite way as Doflamingo, and him becoming a slave and losing both his parents were just the beginning of his suffering. But before we continue further into Kuma's life, let's talk about his devil fruit. Kuma ate the Paw fruit. It is a paramecia type devil fruit that grants him the ability to repel anything with his hands. Kuma found the devil fruit during the God Valley incident. He was there as one of the people that were being targeted by the Celestial Dragon's wicked game. This was also where he met Ivankov, another slave who he'd later become friends with, and Ginny, a slave girl that would become Kuma's love interest, and she'd live with him for a few years. Having this devil fruit and being able to repel people away from the island, Kuma was able to save over 500 people. He was bestowed with an ability to save people. His hands had become the Hands of Liberation, a name that fits so well for Kuma's abilities since he believes in Nika, the sun god, the warrior of liberation. But Kuma's devil fruit isn't able to just cast away tangible things like people or animals. It can even cast away abstract concepts that are not tangible, such as fatigue, illnesses, and even memories. We saw him do this for the first time in Thriller Bark, when he took Luffy's pain away and gave it to Zoro, and the second time we saw him do this was with the old people from his home country. This was also how Kuma was able to repel away his memories from his head and give it to Dr. Vegapunk so that he could study his memories, and it was because of this that Bonnie, Kuma's adoptive daughter, found out about his past. She touched Kuma's memories that were in Vegapunk's lab, and this was how she discovered her father's flashback. After the events of God's Valley, Kuma settled down with Ginny in the kingdom of Sorbet, where his parents originally came from. They lived in a church and Kuma became a pastor. It is unclear what religion Kuma actually follows, but it strongly resembles Christianity because his church has the symbol of a cross. But what makes it different is that it has a giant sun right in the middle of it, making us believe that Kuma follows the religion of Nika. The Buccaneers believed in this tale, and thus Kuma put all his faith in it and worships him as the sun god. But what also links him to Christianity is the fact that Kuma carries around a Bible wherever he goes, which would obviously suggest that Christianity might be real in One Piece. But this might not actually be the case, because this Bible is actually a book Bonnie had when she was with Kuma. It was by reading this Bible that Bonnie discovered about different islands that exist, and it ignited a passion in her to travel the world. Places such as Fishman Island and Sky Islands were mentioned by Bonnie specifically. Bonnie even mentioned that the Sky Islands are way too close to the sun and that they could meet the sun god Nika up there. Kuma admitted that it sounded like a grand adventure and that they should go there for her 20th birthday. This is the very same Bible that Kuma carries around with him all the time. Kuma has never forgotten Bonnie's dreams, and he keeps this book close to him so he always remembers the dreams of his daughter and the sacrifices that she had to make as a mere child. And Kuma also sacrificed a lot. He had to give up on Ginny after she had been captured by one of the celestial dragons and forced to become his 8th wife. He went 2 years without getting any information about Ginny while he was a member of the Revolutionary Army and fought alongside Dragon and Ivankov. What's extremely tragic about all of this was the fact that when Ginny was able to escape and managed to contact Kuma, she was sick with a disease, the Sapphire Scale disease, and did not have long to live. She was able to give Kuma, Dragon and Ivankov a final goodbye before finally passing away. But the most important message she had was for Kuma specifically, and he never even heard it. Kuma rushed back to the Sorbet Kingdom using his ability, guessing that this was the place Ginny was sending the message from. But as soon as he left, she said to Kuma that she loved him. Unfortunately, it was too late because he was already gone, so Kuma had to raise Bonnie by himself, who is Ginny's daughter, that she was forced to have with a celestial dragon. This is one of the most darkest and saddest things that has ever happened to a One Piece character. What Ginny went through was beyond horrible, and Kuma is forced to bear all of this and live with the pain that he couldn't do anything to stop this from happening to her, making a promise that he would look after her because that was the least he could do for Ginny. Bonnie became the new sunshine that illuminated his life. He became a kind and loving father, doing anything possible to protect Bonnie, as well as becoming a mindless robot by Vegapunk to cure Bonnie from her illness, because she had also contracted her mother's disease, the Sapphire Scale disease, giving her only a couple of years left to live. So after all these years, we finally know the reason as to why Kuma became a mindless robot and obeyed every order that the government gave him. He did all of this to protect Bonnie and to make sure that she would be cured from this illness. I think we can all agree without a doubt that Bartholomew Kuma is the best father in all of One Piece and is one of the characters that I've enjoyed the most. Even when he was told that all his humanity and personality would be gone, he just cried. He cried out of relief that there was finally a way that he could cure Bernie's disease, even though it would cost him the ultimate sacrifice, his free will. But despite losing his sense of free will, Kuma was still able to make it to Egghead to protect Bernie. His punch to Saturn was so satisfying to see. This is probably the best punch we have ever gotten in the manga, even better than Luffy's one against St. Charlos. Vegapunk programmed Kuma's body to shut down completely if he ever got out of control, and Saturn activated it. In the end, Kuma was still able to move because the love for his child was so strong that it took over his body. In the end, Kuma cared so much for Bernie that he managed to break out of Saturn's control over him.